Well, good evening. Welcome, everyone. So excited to have you guys on our team Zoom tonight. And we're in for a real treat. A very good friend of mine and of many of ours on this team, Michael Huey, is going to be sharing with us. I want to give you a little bit of his background for people who may not yet know him. He has a great background. He has studied sports management, exercise science, sports nutrition, all at Ohio State University. He's been involved in health and wellness. I don't want to say for how many years, but I'm thinking 30. Is that you're muted again, Mike?
30 years.
30 years. I got it right.
Yeah.
All right. He and his lovely wife, Lisa, who's just a sweetheart. They are Pro 7 in Life Vantage. And I'm not sure when we met Mike, but I think it was quite some time ago in the beginning of my Life Vantage journey. So,
Yeah.
with that, I was wondering if I could just maybe run a couple questions by you, Mike.
Sure.
Okay, maybe could you just share like that 2 to 3 minute version of your story, and then I'll ask you a couple questions.
Okay. So my story is really simple and easy. And if you listen to this, you'll know how to do this business, right? Like most of us, our story is how we do this business, right? And as we go through this journey, my story is really quick as my elevator pitch, to be honest with you. Um, I had I had a friend of mine that had a ministry that my wife and I gave a lot of money to, and so he called me and said, "Hey, you got to watch this video." And I was like, uh, "Does it have something to do with ministry?" And he's like, "No." I said, "So what are you trying to tell me, Daniel? I've already given you a lot of money. Just tell me, I'll write you a check, right?" And he's like, "No. If anybody will understand this, you will. I just want you to watch the video." And I was like, "Okay, just send it to me." And he said, "Nope, not doing it." I was like, "What do you mean? You send me all kinds of other emails and stuff, and you want me to look at this and consult on this, but this is different," he said. And I was like, "Okay." So every Friday, he called me for like 6 months. So just remember this: every Friday, "Hey, will you watch the video? Hey, will you watch the video? Hey." And just remember, guys, for those of you that whether you've been in for a month or 6 months or 6 years or 8 years, 10 years, May, it'll be 10 years for me, right? It takes 5 touches for someone to make a decision on average. Okay. And most of you, 90% of us never share more than twice with somebody, right? Because why? They tell us no, and we're like, "Oh, it doesn't work. Oh, they don't like me." Whatever you use emotions that you go through. So finally, my wife and I are movie buffs. We still go to the movies twice a month, sometimes 3 or 4 times a month, but because of COVID, there's not many movies showing right now. But we just went and seen A Girl Who Believes in Miracles. If you haven't seen that, you should really go see that. It's a good Christian film that I just took my wife to, and I had to cry the whole time while she was crying the whole time, which is always great because I'm a crier. So Daniel called me one night and said, or called my wife, and then I called her back, and she's like, "There's been a change of plans." And I was like, "What's up?" She says, "We have dinner before the movie. We're going with dinner with Daniel and Kathy." And I'm like, "Oh man, I'm gonna have to watch that video, I bet you." And I literally got there and I could see him. And of course, he takes me to my favorite sushi place that I really, really like, and he knows it because Daniel likes to eat. And so he takes me there, and I see him sitting in the corner over there, and I look at my wife and I start laughing. There's a pair of headphones and an iPad set up like on one side of the table. And how many of you know that when something comes to you, that you kind of, after you go through it, you're like, you wish you would have went through it sooner, right? Like you wish you would have done something sooner. And so he watched the video, and this is what he did, real short, 30 seconds. He said, "I'm not going to share this information with you because you're a lot smarter than me, and you're going to have a lot of questions, and I'm not going to be able to answer them." So I lined up this guy named Brandon Cunningham, who's going to talk to you. And I was like, "Who's Brandon Cunningham?" And I think he was like a Pro 5 or Pro 4 or something like that at the time. And he says, "Oh, this guy that answered my questions." So I was like, "Okay, cool." And then halfway through, how many of you ever done this? If you're a male, maybe your husband or your wife, you say, "Here, talk to my wife," right? Like, "Here, Talk to my wife. She's smarter than, if it's the guy, you're doing it because your wife is smarter than you, right? Let's just say that. Mark shaking his head, yes. Everybody here that's married says yes, their wife is smarter. So they hand it to them. I look and she's a little emotional and so he hands the phone back to me. She hands the phone back to me, and Brandon says, "Here's what you have to do. You need to get off the phone with me and sign up." Did we answer all your questions? Yes. I looked at my wife and she's like, yes. So we hung up. I looked at my wife and this is what she said. She said, honey, this is what we've been praying about all our life. If it's true, which I think you believe it is and I believe it is, then we need to do this because we're not selfish. We're not going to keep this in from, we're going to obviously take the product, but we're not selfish. We're not going to keep it to ourselves. So we're going to tell people. And so I hung up with Brandon and I signed up. And if more people would do what I just did or what Daniel just did, we would be super more successful by just not making it so hard on ourselves. So hope that helped somebody that's maybe even some of you that have been in for a while and haven't had the success you want. It's important to, which I think you're going to see in the next couple weeks and months as a company, that we get back to the basics. We get back, and I'll share this 15 seconds because I know Julie has another questions. When we were in Marco Island, they had dinner the last night for us on the beach, and it was super intimate, super special. And I love, I didn't realize that I really liked shrimp and grits, but I realized that I did after I ate the ones that they had for us on the beach. And they had some mashed potatoes. It was good, right, Mark? It was so good. And so I sat down and I'm eating and I hear this person say, hey, is this seat taken? And I looked up and it was our new CEO, Steve Fife. And I was like, yeah, it's taken by you. And him and his wife sat down and he said this question to me, and I'll never forget it the rest of my life. He said, Mike, as a nutritionist, what do you think has to change for us to be $1 billion company? And this is what I said. And I believe you're going to see this over the next 3 months, 6 months, 12 months, right? I said, we need to get back to the basics without complicating things for people. We need to make things, and I'm sure Marcel has told you guys that over the couple calls that you guys have had, that get back to the basics, right? But we need to teach people why this opportunity is so important, the benefits of it, not just the science or the complicated things that it goes through, but just the benefits. And so I hope that helps, Julie.
Awesome. There's a lot of lessons in that story, Michael. Hey, can you share some of those benefits with us?
Yeah, I think when you think about our products, and I'm going to share this with Julie so she can share it with you guys. I'm reading a book right here. You guys can see it on the screen. It's called How to Live Until You Die: The 7 Keys to Living a Happy, Healthy, Whole Life by Dr. Phil Carson. Okay. So you guys want to know who my newest distributor in LifeVantage is? This guy right here, Dr. Phil Carson, right? And he sent me a podcast this week. He didn't even know about Nerve 2. He's a pharmacist, okay, who went holistic and got a doctorate in holistic nutrition. And he said, Mike, I can't believe no one's ever told me about this. And I said, because nobody knows about it, Phil. And so he started digging in like a normal pharmacist, nutritionist would do, and started doing some research. And he found this podcast on Nerve 2. And it's recent. It's just from very recent podcast. And it's from a very well-known foreign biochemist. And it's probably been out maybe within the last week to 2 weeks. And I'll send it to you guys so that you have it. Okay. And he said, will you listen? He said, Mike, you got to listen to this. And this guy's been in for like a week. Right. And he said to me, he said, I started taking the Tri-Synergizer a week ago. And this is a guy that when you listen to him, he's a brain. Like he tells me I'm smart, but I tell him he's even smarter. And if you're smart like some people, not like me, you get around smarter people, right? If you're John Max always says, if you're the smartest person in the room, get out of the room, right? Get around people that are smarter than you. And so Dr. Phil and I have been doing some work together. Like I have clients, if he has a client that he can't have some and I can just say to this, he gets it. You know how some people just get it, right? And my friend Haley Hobson said this today on a Clubhouse room. She is the #2 distributor in doTERRA and never did network marketing before and built 2 pro which in our company would be pro 10 positions by herself. Just and you guys, her story is funny. She's a lawyer who her family paid for her to go to law school because her dad said, if you're not going to be a doctor, you're going to be a lawyer. And I had the privilege of meeting her dad, who is a retired doctor down in South Florida. About 2 weeks ago, I drove down there. And Haley said, you never want to drag and pull somebody into this business. How many of you have somebody that says, oh, I'm super excited. I'm ready to sign up. And then you call them the next day and they're like, oh, I just don't have the money. Or it's just, can I call you in 2 weeks? Listen to what I'm about to tell you. This is what she said. Okay. She said, what changed about your why from yesterday to today that's holding you back from signing up right now? There's really no sense for you to call me in 2 weeks. What's going to change? Yesterday, you were ready to sign up and you told me to call you today. And what you said was, can I call you in 2 weeks? And so Haley said, you're not going to call me in 2 weeks. And then the lady said, no, I'm going to sign up right now. So we always take that first. And guys, you know why I'm able to tell you this? Because we've did it. Mark's did it. Julie's did it. We've all done it. We've all said, or, it's like, here's a really cool thing that I started doing that I think you should take notes on, right? So anytime you create a new relationship, let's just say it's on, you meet an old friend from high school on social media, or you meet them in person and then they add you. How many of you, when you meet somebody, if you don't have their information, you go looking for them on Facebook or somewhere to try to find their information, right? Well, I had a guy come up to me at church this weekend and say, hey, I want you to help me and my wife with our nutrition. He is a retired pharmacist. She's a psychologist. Okay. And I found him on Facebook. I didn't have his phone number, but here's the number one thing I want you guys to get. Social media can go away. Okay. A person's phone number can change, but 98% of the time, their email never changes. Okay. 98% of the time, their email never changes. David, you look really cool in those glasses, brother. Just saying. But their email never changes. So if you capture their email, what have you done? You've captured a way to connect with them forever. Forever. And guys, I was on a call today with multiple 6 and 7 and 8 figure earners in the network marketing industry, and all of them are capturing people's emails. Okay. That way, when they're unable to communicate with them, they can give value to them and ask them, hey, I was thinking about you today. How you doing? Right? Because when somebody's down, they're looking for a way for you to encourage them. And if you don't have their phone number, and guess what? Let's say the app, how many remember the old app that we had? What if we would have had people's email? Would we have even worried about how bad the app was? No. What if all of a sudden we have a glitch and the app goes away? Okay, you have their email. So let me tell you 2 things you need to be doing. You need to be using the app and capturing people's email. If somebody says, hey, you want me to sign you up? I want to sign up. You sign them up at all costs right there. But if they say, hey, send me a link, say, what email would you like for me to send it to? What email would you like me to send it to? Here's why. If you don't have their email or their phone number, you just captured that. And then when you email them, you can get their phone number. So now you've got their email and their phone number. I'm telling you guys, this has been a game changer for me and for my team. Okay. For me and my team, I'm telling you that this will make a difference for you. Okay, Julie, sorry. I went on a little bit of a, guys, I was praying before I got in here. I'm like, God, just let me be an instrument to these people so that they can be encouraged and be, because I've learned so much. Clubhouse has allowed me, if you guys know my story, I spent probably $100,000 in 1 year, in about 3 years in masterminds. I've learned more since January on Clubhouse, just listening. But I will tell you this, and I told Julie this, it can be a time suck. Okay. So what I do on Sunday nights is I map out my whole week and I put those times in there when I'm going to be on there, when I'm listening and when I'm giving value. And let me tell you just what happened with me. Normal person. It could be Jerry. It could be Mary. It could be Renee. It could be Jan. It could be Ron. It could be anybody. Okay. I went on there. Haley brought me into a room one time. I gave some value, and 6 months later, I had 5,000 followers. Now I'm up over 6,000 followers. It's 1,000 followers a month. Okay. I've been hitting the bonus pool 2 and 3 and 4 times a month. Why? Because I've been giving value to people. I've been capturing their emails and continuing to follow up with them. It's a simple system. Okay, Julie, so hope that answered. I know it was a little detailed answer for that question, but I'm sorry. Hopefully that was good. I saw some smiling and faces and pencils writing pretty fast. And you're muted, Julie. Julie's talking away and can't hear you.
Okay, awesome. Thank you, Michael. That was awesome. We appreciate all that you're sharing with us. So you recently mentioned to me about an invite process that was shared with you. Would you please share how that works step by step?
Oh, with Erica. Yeah. Okay. So when I was in okay, so let me just tell you this too. Here's a really cool thing that you can do when you're in LifeVantage is build relationships with people that are inside the company too. All right. I would say probably one of the most important things that I learned about in this business when I got involved, Fred Graves said this probably when I first met him. He said, if you want what other people have, do what they do. Right? Do what they do. It's like for me, Mark, a lot of people in here, if you want to be more like Christ, what do? You do what he did, right? It's and I'll share this, but I feel like I need to share this first. So it's just like this weekend. We did a deliverance teaching at my church, and I got picked anger. Okay, just gonna be honest with you. As to how many of you have ever struggled, let's be vulnerable. How many of you have ever struggled with anger in your life? Well, I have, right? And so I realized this from one of my friends, Glenn Lundy, who has 8 kids. Okay, I know some of you got 2 kids, maybe 3 kids, but how would you feel if you had 8 kids? And he said, this is why relationships, whether it's with people or your family or your kids, are so important and why you learn so much. He said, I bought my son a kayak. And I was out there teaching, watching my son. I was sitting on the dock watching my son use the kayak. And my daughter came out and took a cup and threw it at my son and landed in the lake. And he said, I was so mad. I was so mad. And I responded in a way I normally don't respond. And my daughter took off running. And I realized that made an impact on my relationship with my daughter. Instead of, and then, you know what was the moral of the story? The cup floated right back over to his feet and he reached down and picked it back up. Why? Because we sweat the small stuff before we take time to build relationships with people. So I built a good relationship with Erica Dale and Jesse Dale. I had Jesse on my podcast. Jesse's a bodybuilder. Just a great guy. Just a great guy, right? And so we were in Marco Island and we were walking around talking, and Erica was working her business while we were in Marco Island. Okay? Just being real with you. I was like, what are you doing? And she said, I'm always on social media. I block my time out. She goes, we don't watch TV and I don't have any games or anything distracting on my phone. She said, I'm constantly looking for people like me. She said, guys, write this down, I'm telling you. She said, I'm constantly looking for people like me. Okay. When you know who you're looking for, the people that you want to connect with. And so I said, Erica, what do you do? And she showed me her phone and she had tons of things. And I said, are you collecting their emails? And she said, of course. Right. I said, what do you say to people? She said, hey, she said, I just say this. Hey, look, I'll use Renee because Renee's in front of me. Or you know what? I'll use a male because it'll be easier for male. So I see Jerry over here. Okay. So I say, hey, Jerry, I see that you're in the medical field. I just got nominated for PhD. We have a lot in common, and I would like to get to know you better and see how we can serve each other. And she said the person either says yes or no, and then she puts them into, her notebook about, and grabs their email, right? As she goes through conversations with her. But what's great is she's constantly, she said, this is what I told Julie, she may not even say anything the first 3 or 4 or 5 times they have a conversation. Why do you think that is? Okay. Why do you think Daniel never gave up on me for 6 months? Because he knew eventually, because of the way the relationship had went, that eventually we would want to build a relationship. And even if I just say to Jerry, said, hey, Jerry, you know what? You're just a great guy. We have a lot in common. I love to watch your posts on Instagram or Facebook. I love to watch some of the lives you do. Hey, I would just like to connect with you more. Okay. And then you make a time to connect. Let me just tell you this. The hardest thing for me is how many of you would say that you wish you could be a little bit more organized when it comes to your schedule? Okay. I think we all could be, right? And so what you have to do is maybe a paper calendar is your thing. Maybe a Calendly or a Gmail is your thing. You have to find a way to be organized. If it's a paper calendar, you mark out in your calendar, I'm going to do follow up and build new relationships on this day. I'm going to build new relationships on this day. And you put 15 to 20 minute increments. If you work a full-time job, then you put it a couple nights a week. Guys, and Mark can tell you this, when we first got involved, this is what they told us to be successful: 30 minutes of working your business every other day, minimum, right? Because that was 15 presentations a month, 30 minutes every other day, right? Now, I didn't do that. I did 30 to 45 minutes every day, sometimes an hour, and I was working 55 to 60 hours a week. But the key, where the fortune is in the follow-up. If you keep those contacts and you stay in contact with those, and Erica said that she puts them, once she gets them to the point to where she's had that building relationship with them, then on Facebook Messenger or Instagram, she puts them, when she's, walked them through the ITT, she puts them into a Facebook Messenger with the person that she wants to share. Now, we don't know what's going to happen, but I'm pretty sure Julie shared something with me today that Holly Highfield just shared with me. I think we're going to know more. I heard Mark maybe talking about a little bit earlier that starting next Monday, there's going to be 30 days. We're going to know this. There is an elite call tomorrow. We're going to know this a little bit more, where that last part of that ITT could be one of these webinars over the next 30 days, right? Maybe it's somebody that you've taken through the ITT. Guys, the ITT system, I wish we had it when I got involved. 1 video, 2 video, third party. 1 video, 2 video, third party. Same thing, rinse and repeat. It's all you have to do. You know what's great about the app is that Erica said once she gets to know the person, if she captures their email or their phone number, then she puts them in the app. But if not, she still follows the ITT. Now listen to this. How do you think you should follow the ITT program? Should you put it to them in Facebook Messenger, or should you send it to them in an email? Anybody want to guess? Anybody want to unmute and guess?
Email.
Julie?
Email.
Messenger.
No way, Jerry. Who said that? Jerry did? No, who said that? Dan? I couldn't hear who said it. No, not in Messenger. Why? Why not in Messenger? Anybody? What if something happens to Messenger? What if the person loses their Facebook? What if Facebook crashes tomorrow? How many of you know that can happen? It can happen. It can. Guys, let me tell you why. Let me tell you this 30 seconds, okay? I had been using Facebook ads for my coaching business for years. The minimum I would make from a 5-day challenge would be $35,000 to $50,000. Okay, I did the same identical challenge, same ads, same content in November, right around the election. And guess how much money I made? Can anybody guess? 0. So do you think it's good that you put the information to them in an email or in Messenger? In an email, because then you've captured their email. I'm not saying you can't go and give it to them in Messenger, but what if something happens to Facebook? Then you have them as a long-term connection for as long as you have their email. And then you could even go back to them. Let's just say it's Mark and I, and we haven't talked in a while, okay? Hey, Mark, I'm in an email. Hey, Mark, I saw it was Krista's birthday yesterday. We haven't touched base in a while. How are you and the kids doing, and how's Krista doing? Hey, we should probably catch up. And then you know what I do? I put a link to my schedule. If you guys want to, if you have a Gmail address, you can use Calendly, which is what I use. I say, here's a link to my schedule. And every Sunday, I make my schedule available for whenever I can do calls for people like Mark. It's called a 30-minute connection call. And then I can say, hey, Mark, here's some times that I'm available this week to do a call. Why? Because that's keeping me intentional. It's not hard. It's not complicated. It's really simple and easy because it keeps you organized. You know what that does? It takes this from a hobby to a business. It takes this from when you get back to 2 and 3 years down the line and you have these people's emails and you don't have their phone number or their phone number changes or your phone crashes. Guys, do you know I'm getting a new phone tomorrow and this phone isn't even a year old? You know why? Because it's crashing, right? It's crashing. It won't even hook up to the Wi-Fi, right? So that's what I'm saying to you guys. That's the most important thing about why you want to capture the email with somebody when you're having a conversation with them. If you can. If you can't, so what? But if you can, it's super important. And even if you just write it in a notebook, even if you just get a notebook like this and you write the person's name and their email and then write their name and their email and leave about 2 or 3 spots. Do you know why that is? Because it takes 5 touches for you to get to them. And if you can document the 5 touches, then you'll know how to keep continuing. Does that make sense to you guys? Does that make, is it not overwhelming? Makes sense. Okay, good. Awesome. Okay. Sorry, Julie.
Great. Okay. You were talking about the importance of this being a relationship business. Could you please expound more on that aspect of the business and some of the ways to add value to people?
That's such a good question. So let me tell you what will be the most important success of your business is your mindset. Okay. So mindset, relationships start with mindset. Okay. If you already have your mindset on quitting, okay, which some people do, it's amazing, right? They'll quit, right? But if you have your mindset set that this is a long-term business, whether you're pro 1 or pro 2 or pro 3, and you allow yourself to get to that point and start your mindset off as, and I'm going to use my example, okay? I feel like I have a moral responsibility to do what I'm doing, okay? And here's why. Because I've done a lot of things in my life that, you know what? I told Julie this. I'm a different man today than I even was a month, 3 months, 6 months, a year ago, right? And I realized it this weekend when I went through this deliverance teaching at my church, and I started to build deeper relationships with people, even inside my church, where now people are coming to me and saying, "Hey, I want to build a relationship with you and Lisa. Hey, I want to build a relationship with you and Lisa." What changed? I changed. Okay. So never point the finger at other people if the relationship doesn't go the way you wanted it to go. Right. But here's how you can build here's the answer to Julie's question. Here's how you can build longer, sustaining relationships. A lot of us in here follow Christ. Okay. The greatest example of a relationship was when Jesus washed the feet of his disciples. Okay. He served. Okay. He gave value. He made people, listen to this. People don't want to know about LifeVantage until they know that you care about them and not what you're trying to sell them or teach them or educate them on. Okay. And listen to this. You have 2 ears and 1 mouth. Okay. Ask a question. Hey, Mark, how are you doing? What did I do when I got on this call with Mark? Hey, Mark, how was Krista's birthday? Right? Why? Because I freaking care about Mark and Krista. Plain and simple. It's not about me. Same thing I say to Julie. She can tell you every single phone call I get on with her. I say, how's Jerry? How's Katie? How's Timmy? Every single time. No matter what she asks me or no matter what I do. Why? Because it's about relationships. I signed up Dr. Phil because I loved on him until he asked me what I do. So he asked me some of the things that I've been talking about on Clubhouse, and what it means and what it can mean to him and his family. And then I jumped on the phone and I put him on the phone with Seth Mulder because he had been in rooms with Seth Mulder. He said, "Hey, does Seth Mulder do what you do?" And I was like, "Yeah." And I said, "Hey, Seth, do you mind sharing with Dr. Phil and validating what I'm doing?" He said, "Sure." So we went ITT. I showed him the 2 videos, and then I put him on the phone. But this is what you have to do to build a relationship. Remember this. To build a relationship, you have to be invested. To build a relationship, you have to be invested, and it cannot be about you. Okay? I read a book after I lost $500,000 in 2018 and 2019. I brought a guy into my coaching business that stole from me and my wife. We had to consolidate debt. Our credit score was the highest you could probably get is around 830, and it went down to 400. And yes, I cried. I'll be transparent and vulnerable and say I did cry. But I looked at my wife, who was probably one of the strongest people I've ever met in my entire life. You know, let me tell you how important, why I love Mark Harris. When I was at one of the lowest times in my life, and I can tell you where it was at. We were on, and I've shared this with him. We were on a bus. I get goosebumps when I think about it. We were on a tram, actually, going to a soccer game in Salt Lake City, and Mark just looked at me and just loved on me and loved on me, and but not always tough or easy, but hard and bold and frank, and hugged me and said, "Hey, I'm praying for you." Right. And shortly after that, things got better. I went back to my wife. You know, we brought things in, but here's the piece of relationships. Why you have to invest in relationships. When you truly invest in a relationship, that person will want to listen to what you're doing. We have people now that have been watching us for 10 years, knowing that we haven't quit, and now they want to know what we're doing. We have friends from our church that were involved in LifeVantage years ago and now want to get back involved because they've just watched what we were doing. Why? Because we've invested. We've not tried to sell them anything. I'll be honest with you. I hired a couple salespeople for my coaching business because I'm the worst salesperson in the world. To be honest with you, I don't even think I could, sell Mark a piece of lumber at Home Depot, but I'm just the worst salesperson, but I am good with relationships. And so I think that once you allow yourself to continue to serve, continue to give value, the more value you give to people, the more you get in return. So I hope that helps. But just remember this before Julie asks next question. It starts with your mindset. It starts with having a mindset that you're going to give without any expectation of what happens in return. There's this saying that I said to my friend Brian Hess on my podcast the other day. I said, "Brian, you have to divorce the outcome and marry the process. Divorce the outcome, marry the process to build relationships. The more the more relationships you build and the more questions you ask, the better success you'll have in every area of your life." Hope that helps, Julie.
Awesome. Thank you. Yeah, that was great. Really appreciate all your sharing and all your experiences and knowledge. Do we have a little time here, Mike? Do you mind if we open it up for Q&A? Okay.
Absolutely. Hopefully you guys will ask some questions. Everybody says Q&A and everybody gets nervous, right, Mark? Oh, they're going to ask a question. No, I want to go. What time is it? Right?
Okay, if you have a question, you can unmute yourself or you can type it in the chat box.
Come on. Don't be scared. Jerry, you don't have a question, Jerry?
Let me ask you this, Mike. While we're getting some questions together, I know a lot of us fell in love with Pro Tandem when we first saw this thing.
Yep.
And over the weeks, months, and years, our catalog has grown. We've gotten ProBio and Axio and Hair Care and Pet Tandem. How would you recommend that we reorient ourselves or recalibrate around this, what we're going to begin seeing with the FAB presentations and these nightly presentation opportunity meetings? How can we start to get our head around keeping the main thing? Like, Can you kind of characterize how you see the direction of LifeVantage, maybe realigning itself, or maybe going forward from this point in 2021? How do you see the next 3, 6 months, 1 year, 5 years going with our messaging and with the focus of the company?
That's so good. That's a great question. And I see it twofold. I'm on the product and promotions committee. So I'm in constant contact and talk with Jesse Allen, and there's a group of us, Dr. Rebecca Glasser, Mark Shinsato is on that, Dondi Nettles. There's several of us that are on that committee. And there's a lot of things that I see that are going to happen between the rest of 2021 and 2022. I already know things are going to happen. They've already asked me a bunch of questions because if you guys don't know my background, I consulted for nutrition companies for years and years and years. But here's the difference. Here's the difference. Activation is the key. It's not biohacking. It's not. It's more centered towards the epigenetics. Guys, epigenetics is activation. Okay. Let me tell you why. I do DNA testing. Okay. And I have a client right now. I told Julie this today. This is pretty cool. Some of you are just hearing this for the first time. And she's on TV. Okay. So she's on TV, and she pays really well. Just say that. And she's on TV, but she's struggled with her weight because she's had hormonal problems, and she was on fen for a year, and all these problems. And I've got her on all our products. She loves them. She says, "Can I take these the rest of my life?" I said, "Yes, you can." and she holds up an epigenetics testing kit that the TV station sent her. And it's a company that I'm in negotiations with to use their testing. And it literally tells you what's going on at a cellular level inside your body, tells you your cellular age, tells you and you know what? We have the solution. Activation is the key. It's, I hated in the beginning when we were saying the little yellow pill, right? But activation is the key, because when you and when you guys listen to this podcast that I'll send you, this guy talks about how activation will be the most important and significant thing that will lead to people's health going forward in really the 21st century, to be honest with you. Why? We've already done the research. The science is already done. We're going to have more science. You guys are going to hear some stuff that we're going to have more studies and all this stuff. But even with our personal care line stuff, it's all going to have NRF2 activation in it, right? That's the key. The key is the activation, getting back to where we started at and letting people know, hey, we have a business opportunity that you can be first in a technology of activation that has already been proven, that nobody knows about it. Guys, Dr. Phil, our company's been around for 12 years. He's never even heard of this, right? I had a lady come to me the other day that said, "Hey, are you in LifeVantage?" And I said, "Yeah, how did you know that?" And she said, "I heard you talking about NRF2, and somebody shared it with me about 4 months ago." Right? What did she hear? She didn't hear ProBio. She didn't hear everything else. Now, we all take all the products because but the key is this activation piece. And so I'm going to be honest with you. I said to Brian and Jesse on the call every single week for the last couple months, because we meet every week, I said, we have to hone in on activation.
Yeah.
And then Julie calls me today and says, "Hey, you're never going to believe what they were talking about on the call." Why? Guys, I'm a scientist. I know we can't get all this stuff over everybody's head, right? What we have to do is we have to break it down so people can understand it. And then we let them know, hey, look, guys, I don't know if you guys knew this, but we're rebranding. Here's how good the company is. And I'll finish with this, Mark, to answer your question. Here's what's really cool. Here's what I like about LifeVantage. Guys, 3 times this year already, I've been asked to consult for big money for nutrition companies. One company offered me $50,000. Okay. I don't want to risk my LifeVantage business, right? But they don't have anything like we have, right? But here's what's the coolest thing to understand is that we are first to market. We already have the science. We already have everything done. And before long, we're going to have everything that we need from that perspective. And it's based off the activation principle. That's the most important thing in every product that we have, you know, in every product we have. I hope that helped a little bit, Mark, and answered that question.
So I have a quick question.
Go ahead, Jerry.
What's Clubhouse? It sounds like a kid's treehouse thing. I don't.
Yeah, it's this thing on
PBS,
four legs.
Gary. It's on PBS.
PBS. Yeah, it sounds like something on PBS, right?
Yeah, it's in my backyard. It's on four legs.
And you have a zip line.
Exactly, over the lake. No, just kidding. Clubhouse is a new app that you can get on and build relationships with, and you can. It's like a massive social networking platform. And somebody, I'll just tell you this: somebody has to give you an invite, and if you don't have an Apple phone, you can't get on. It's only for Apple users, unless you have an iPad. You can get an iPad and you can use it, but it's only for Apple users. And somebody has to invite you. And if anybody on here wants to get on, I've got like 9 or 10 invites. I can give you one, but I'll just tell you what, if you want to learn how to use it, I'm going to share this last thing with you. Go to YouTube, type in Clubhouse, and my friend Liz Germain, who I just had on my podcast 3 weeks ago, does a really cool little short video on how to use Clubhouse, and it'll walk you through it. I get about 25 to 30 leads a week on Clubhouse. And for you just starting out, how many of you would like to have, let me just say this by show of hands. I know everybody doesn't have their camera on, but just by a show of hands, how many of you would like to get to build relationships with 25 to 30 new people every week? I'm raising my hand because I would, right? And okay, how about 10 for Mark? For people like Mark.
Michael, I have a quick question for you.
Shoot.
All right, so we got all these ingredients. We've got this kind of this streamlining back to our, our base statement that's going to be easy. We've got these Zooms that are going to be happening 30 in 30 days. So if somebody's on here and they're kind of like Mark said, wanting to recalibrate. In your professional opinion, as an elite distributor on great boards with LifeVantage, the quickest way from A to money would be what for someone new or someone like me, trying to get to another level? Let's say they've got Pro 3 circled and they want to hit Pro 3. From where we are now, the quickest route would be how?
To use the app. Okay. To get as many people in through the system as you can in the app, because here's what's good about the app. Okay, I'm going to say I have Ron, Mark, and Krista, Julie, and Jerry, Carol, and Jan, and Dan are my friends in my app. When I've built a relationship with them and I send them that first video, I know whether they've watched it or not because the app tells me. Okay, second video, if I sent them the second video, I know whether they've watched it or not. But then guess what? Because Renee just said it, we're coming up on these 30 days. If they've watched both of those videos, then I'm getting on the phone with them and having a conversation with them. And if I can get them on one of those calls, I do. But if not, I get them on the phone with one of my upline members to answer their questions. And that's what's most important, is that you take as much action as you can when the time that you have. Whether you watch TV, like I've said to my wife, I'll be honest with you, I want to unplug our TV. I just do. Why? Because Mark can tell you, Mark will remember this. He actually asked me this. A long time ago when I first met him, he said, what did you do in the beginning that you think had the biggest success that you had? And I told him, he'll remember this. I told him I unplugged my television for 6 months. Sure. Unplugged my television for 6 months. Why? How many blood-sucking TV just destroys your business, your mindset, your sleep, everything that you go through. So if you want to be, and Renee, I hope this answers your question. If you want to be super intentional, you go through and you mark in your schedule every Sunday how often you're going to share this information, how often you're going to follow up, that you're going to be on LifeVantage Academy, that you're going to be in Success Mastery. When you're not, you're working your business. When you're in the car with your husband, okay? When you're in the car with your husband, This is what Erica does. When Jesse's talking to somebody, she's in the background working her business, messaging somebody, sending them a thank you or an encouragement. You guys know what that is? It's a mindset. It's a mindset. If you don't have the right mindset, you'll treat this like a hobby, and that's what it'll be. You make a little bit of money here and there, but if you treat it like a business, and you know why I can say this? Because we've all done it. As lead distributors, Mark and Krista and Julie can tell you, sometimes we've got a little bit or complacent, right? Where we're not consistently doing the things that we need to do to take steps that we need to take. So that's what I would tell you, Renee. Renee, did that answer your question? Did that help?
Absolutely, because I've got team members on the call that have that in their, have that bullseye right now. And with
And they
so
can
much
do
going
it.
on,
They can do it.
yeah, there's,
They
we've got
can do it. Just
so much
rally.
different things.
Here's the last thing I'll give you a takeaway with this. Have them be super intentional. On Sunday nights, make sure they know what they're going to do for the whole week and tell them to take action on it, and don't let any. There's a new book that I'm reading for a lot of people in my family that I gave to them, and I'm reading it for the third time in my life. It's called Boundaries. Okay? Boundaries is good for relationships, business, dating, whatever you do. What I did is I realized that if I set those boundaries of what I'm going to do and what I'm capable of doing, I'm much more responsive than I would be if my mindset is not set on doing them. And then they become non-negotiable. The times that I put in my schedule, I'm going to work. Hey, things come up, but guess what you do? You go right back to it. Once something comes up, you go right back to it and you say, hey, maybe I didn't get to do the whole 30 minutes, but I did 15 to 20 minutes. It's better than none. And you don't get discouraged, and you just keep pushing forward, follow up, rinse and repeat. Hopefully that helped, Renee.
Michael, absolutely. You dropped gems on us tonight.
You're welcome.
I want to piggyback off that, Michael, as well, and just share. For those of us that build our business face to face with weekly meetings, home meetings, everything rose and fell on getting the information in front of people, or conversely, getting people to the information. I'll just share what I feel convicted to do in this next 30 days, because this opportunity of getting live information to people is so profound and robust, and my names list is so short. One of the things that I have committed is refilling at least 100 names.
Amen.
For this next 30 days. It's to get as many people on my names list as I can, because if it's not self-evident, hopefully everybody on this call has been in long enough to know that if you've got one or two people you're working with, that's just death. You're overwatering them probably, and we get so emotionally wound up about that one or two prospects. You're suffocating them, like
100%.
Just our mindset, right? Just our communication is like, they feel that, and it's stifling. And so one of the things that, to your point, Michael, on Sunday nights, one of the things that we want to try to do is make sure that we've got just that an entire page of names full,
100%.
ready to go. And at any point, we can say, hey, what are you doing tomorrow night? The kid's got this thing. Oh, no problem. How about Tuesday night? Tuesday night, 7 o'clock, 7:30, whenever these calls are going to be. So this is my opportunity. We're coming up to the top of the hour, so we should probably cut it short, Julie. So I'll kick it back to you in just a second to check chat and make sure we've got questions answered. But for those of you that don't know, maybe jumped on late, Michael alluded to it. The FAB and the Pro 10s have aligned to create 30 business opportunity presentations in 30 days. We get more details on that tomorrow night. As soon as we get those details, we're going to get it on the team pages. We'll get emails out to everyone. If you're in a chat group, an accountability group, leaders, please make sure that information gets disseminated. But this is the 30 days for 2021. If you want to rank advance in 2021, this 30 days is the time
100%.
to run.
100%.
Yep. So
25.
I'm
guys,
done.
Remember what Mark said to elevate Mark. What did we hear was 25 ITT, right? You heard Mark say we need a new 100 names list. What's 25 times 4? Anybody good at math? Okay. That's 100, you guys. That means you have 20, because then what you can do is you can start to repopulate those conversations over and over and over and over again. And if you just have 1 or 2 people, like Mark said, in your mind or in your funnel, you call it, the funnel runs out. the funnel isn't built like this, right? It's built where it runs out, right? And if you're and look, some of you say, well, I don't know anybody. Well, guess what? I didn't know Haley Hobson. And I said, I'm going to get to know her, right? Like I didn't know David when I got involved in LifeVantage, you know, and we've had massive impact in each other's lives now for going on 7 or 8 years, right? I've stayed in his home. Same with Julie, right? You build relationships with many people as you can. Guys, I'll finish with this last thing. Fear is not your friend. Okay. Fear is not your friend. Okay. Remember, fear holds you back from fulfilling the destiny and the calling and the plans and the purposes that God has created you for. If you overcome those things, you will overcome the inability to build relationships that are quality. So let's just say remember this, in the next 18 to 24 to 36 to 5 years, people will finally start to figure this out. They should be on your names list. If they're not, shame on you. There you go, Julie.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Michael. I think we got most of the questions, and I apologize if we missed a question. I see here Dan was asking about retaining people that you enroll, but I think that we're going to have to answer that at another time because we've gone overtime here tonight. So thank you so much, Michael. You've given us a tremendous value tonight. We love you. We appreciate you. And we love and appreciate all of you. Thank you so much for being on our Zoom tonight. So with that, we're going to say good night.
Thank you,
Bless
brother.
all. You're
Bless
welcome,
you.
brother.
Thank you.
Good to see you, brother.
Good to see you
Good night.
too.
Thank you, Michael.
See you,
Love
buddy.
you
Good night.
guys. You're welcome.
Well done, buddy.
Have a
Love
good
you guys. Gonna be a
Be
great week.
blessed.
Michael, I called you when I was in Florida. Thanks for talking briefly when you did. I don't know if you remember, I was down there for surgery.
Yes, that's right. Good to hear from you,
And
Peter.
it was great to have you in Kansas City when you were here. I'll never forget it.
Thank you for that. We'll connect soon, brother. You have a good night.
Thank you. You too. God bless
All right.
you.
God bless you too. Bye-bye.
Good night, everyone.
Good night,
Night.
guys.